The skies above Seoul darkened as Dr. Juno Park watched his computer screens with growing concern. Strange objects had appeared in Earth's orbit 3 days ago, slowing down from speeds that should be impossible. These weren't asteroids or comets, they moved with purpose, adjusting their positions with precision. Juno ran his fingers through his messy hair and called to his colleague across the room. "Professor Kim, please look at these readings." Professor Sunwoo Kim walked over, her face serious as she studied the data. She adjusted her glasses and frowned. "These can't be natural objects. They're changing direction too precisely." Within hours, military bases around the world went on high alert. The strange vessels positioned themselves in orbit around Earth, their metallic surfaces reflecting sunlight in unusual patterns. Global news networks broadcast the same footage, massive ships of unknown design, each one bigger than anything humans had ever built. People everywhere watched their screens in fear and wonder. Was this first contact? An invasion? No one knew. On the third day, Admiral Tae-woo Lee sat in the command center of the Korean Space Defense Force. Screens around him showed military leaders from other countries, all waiting nervously. Suddenly, every screen in the room flickered. A message appeared, somehow translated into every human language simultaneously. "People of Earth," the message began. "Your planet has been selected for integration. You have 48 hours to surrender your autonomy. Resistance will result in cleansing." The message repeated 3 times before the screens returned to normal. At the United Nations, an emergency meeting began immediately. Leaders argued about what to do. Some wanted to surrender to protect their people. Others insisted on fighting. "We cannot give up our freedom," said one representative. "But how can we fight an enemy so advanced?" While world leaders debated, Dr. Min Ji-yoon worked quietly in her small office at the Korean Communications Agency. As a linguist, she had been asked to analyze the alien message. Something about it bothered her. The grammar was perfect, too perfect. The words chosen seemed mechanical, lacking the nuance of natural language. "They understand our words," she told her colleague Do-hyun Park, "but I don't think they understand how we think." Do-hyun, a computer programmer with bright eyes and a quick mind, looked up from his own work. "What do you mean?" "Look at their phrasing: integration, autonomy, cleansing. They speak like they expect us to understand things only one way. There's no acknowledgement of different perspectives." As scientists worked, ordinary people prepared for the worst. Some fled cities, creating traffic jams on major highways. Others gathered in churches, temples, and mosques to pray. Many simply hugged their loved ones, wondering if these might be their final days together. In Seoul, Hae-soo-kwon watched the news with her husband and 2 children. "Should we leave the city?" she asked. Her husband, Jin-young, shook his head. "The aliens are everywhere. There's nowhere to hide from something like this." Their daughter, 8-year-old Sumi, looked up from her drawing. "Maybe they just want to be friends but don't know how to ask." Her parents exchanged sad smiles at her innocence. As the first day passed, more alien ships arrived. They took positions over major cities worldwide: New York, London, Beijing, Moscow, Cairo, and dozens more. Each ship measured at least 2 kilometers across, dwarfing the tallest human structures below. Military forces everywhere prepared their weapons, though most leaders doubted they would work against such advanced technology. In her lab, Minji made a breakthrough. She had been analyzing radio signals between the alien vessels. "Their communications are unified," she told Do-hyun excitedly. "They don't debate or discuss, they simply issue commands and acknowledge them. It's like they're all parts of one system." Do-hyun considered this. So they might not understand disagreement or individual thought? Exactly, Minji nodded. Maybe they evolved differently, not as separate beings with independent minds, but as components of a collective. As the deadline approached, Earth's defense forces took positions. Fighter jets stood ready on runways. Missile silos prepared for launch commands. Naval vessels moved into strategic positions. Yet deep down, military leaders knew these preparations might be meaningless against an enemy who could cross interstellar space. The aliens watched all this from their ships, apparently confused by humanity's response. They had expected immediate surrender, not preparation for resistance. They had never encountered a species that valued individual freedom over collective survival. And as the 48-hour deadline drew closer, neither side truly understood the other, setting the stage for a conflict unlike any in human history. The 48-hour deadline passed without Earth's surrender. At precisely 2 p.m. local time, the alien ships moved into attack position over major cities worldwide. The sky above Seoul turned an eerie green as the massive vessel descended through the clouds. Colonel Hyunki Choi stood on the airbase runway, watching his pilots rush to their fighter jets. His hands were steady as he gave final orders through his headset, but sweat ran down his back beneath his uniform. "Remember your training," he told the pilots. "Approach in formation. Do not engage alone." 12 jets roared into the sky, looking tiny compared to the enormous alien craft that hovered above the city. Colonel Choi watched from the command center as radar tracked their approach. The lead pilot's voice crackled over the radio. "Target in sight. Locking missiles." The first wave of missiles streaked toward the alien ship, leaving trails of white smoke against the blue sky. People watching from buildings and streets below held their breath. Every missile vanished before impact. There was no explosion, no damage, they simply disappeared against an invisible barrier surrounding the alien vessel. "No effect," reported the pilot. Switching to direct fire. Fighter jets circled the ship, firing their guns. The bullets met the same fate as the missiles. The alien ship didn't respond at first. Then a section of its lower hull opened. A green beam swept across the city, so bright it hurt to look at directly. In downtown Seoul, office worker Jeo Nam was watching the jets from her office window when the green light washed over the building. She felt an intense pain in her head and collapsed. All around her, co-workers fell to the floor as well. The beam swept methodically through the city, following major streets and covering every neighborhood. Wherever it touched, people fell unconscious. Cars crashed as drivers lost consciousness. Trains stopped as operators collapsed at their controls. Similar scenes played out in cities across the world. In New York, Tokyo, London, and hundreds of other locations, green beams swept through streets and buildings. Within hours, billions of people lay unconscious. At an underground military bunker outside Seoul, General Min Soo-han received reports of the attack scale. "The aliens are targeting humans but leaving infrastructure intact," an aide reported. "They want our cities, not our ruins." The general nodded grimly. "What about our nuclear option?" "The president has authorized it," the aide confirmed. Other nations are preparing similar responses. Within the hour, nuclear missiles launched from submarines and hidden silos worldwide. They streaked toward the alien vessels, carrying enough destructive power to destroy Earth many times over. The aliens seemed to notice this time. Their ships emitted pulses of energy that intercepted the missiles. Instead of exploding, the nuclear weapons simply disintegrated in mid-air. In the bunker, General Han watched the failed attack with horror. "We've thrown everything we have at them," he whispered. Meanwhile, Dr. Min Ji-yoon and programmer Do-hyun Park worked frantically in a secured facility beneath Busan. Their lab had been shielded against the alien attack, allowing them to continue analyzing alien communications. "Look at this pattern," Minji said, pointing to scrolling data on her screen. "When we attacked with jets, one ship issued a command, and all others acknowledged exactly the same way. When we launched nukes, the same thing happened." Do-hyun nodded thoughtfully. "They function as parts of a single entity, not as individual ships making independent decisions." "Exactly," Minji agreed. "And see how they respond to our broadcasts? They seem confused by our multiple voices and disagreements." People who had been hit by the green beams began to wake after several hours. Many reported strange dreams, visions of becoming part of something larger, losing their sense of self and joining a collective mind. Geo woke in her office, her head pounding. "I saw them," she told a colleague who helped her up. "In my mind, I saw how they think. They're all connected to each other. They don't understand why we resist becoming part of them. As military forces regrouped, the aliens began the second phase of their invasion. Smaller craft descended from the motherships, landing in parks and open spaces. Tall, slender beings emerged, their skin shimmering with iridescent patterns. They moved with precise, uniform motions, as if choreographed. In Washington, the president authorized a desperate counterattack using experimental weapons. Special forces teams armed with high-energy pulse rifles ambushed an alien landing party. The weapons briefly disrupted the aliens' shields, allowing soldiers to wound several before being struck down by return fire. This small success was reported worldwide, giving humans a sliver of hope. The aliens hadn't expected resistance after their initial attack. They seemed genuinely puzzled that humans continued to fight after such a demonstration of power. At their secure facility, Minji made a breakthrough. They keep using words like integration and assimilation in their broadcasts, she told Do-Hyun. I think they genuinely expected us to want to join their collective consciousness. Do-Hyun looked up from his computer. Their greatest strength is their unified mind, he said slowly. What if that's also their greatest weakness? As conventional military strategies failed around the world, Do-Hyun Park paced the length of the underground lab, his mind racing. The aliens had taken control of major cities, and their smaller ships now patrolled the streets. Humans who resisted were not killed but rendered unconscious and taken to collection points for what the aliens called processing. They're so advanced, Minji said, watching footage of alien craft effortlessly neutralizing tanks in Germany. How can we fight technology that's centuries ahead of ours? Do-Hyun stopped pacing. Maybe we don't need to fight their technology. Maybe we fight their thinking. He pulled up a chair beside Minji and began typing rapidly on his keyboard. Look at their communication patterns. Everything is centralized, unified. They speak with one voice, think with one mind. Like a hive, Minji nodded. Exactly. And what happens to a hive when it receives conflicting information? Do-Hyun's eyes lit up with excitement. We can't beat them with bullets, but maybe we can confuse them with data. While the military continued its failing efforts, Do-Hyun created a secure communication channel. He reached out to computer experts who had gone into hiding around the world. Within hours, he had assembled a virtual team of the planet's best hackers, programmers, and network specialists. The aliens use quantum entanglement for instant communication, explained Jae-woo Han, a Korean hacker who had joined from her hiding place in Amsterdam. It's incredibly advanced, but it follows predictable protocols. Can we break into it? Asked Do-Hyun. Not with our technology, Jae-woo replied. But we've been monitoring their signals. They're vulnerable to information overload. Their system isn't designed to handle massive amounts of contradictory data. Minji leaned forward. Because they've never needed to. In their society, there is no contradiction, everyone thinks as one. The team worked through the night, developing what they called Operation Cognitive Storm. By morning, they had a plan so unusual that many military leaders initially rejected it as nonsense. You want to fight an advanced alien armada with memes and music? General Han asked incredulously during their presentation. Not just memes, Do-Hyun explained patiently. Human culture. Art. Philosophy. Paradoxes. Conflicting viewpoints. Everything that makes us individual thinkers rather than parts of a collective. Minji stepped forward. The aliens don't understand individual thought. Their communications show they expected us to welcome assimilation. They're genuinely confused by our resistance. Their unified mind is their strength, Do-Hyun continued, but also their weakness. They've never developed defenses against cognitive diversity because they've never needed to. After intense debate, and with few options remaining, world leaders approved the plan. The team needed access to every internet-connected device on Earth. Emergency broadcasts went out to all areas still free from alien control, asking citizens to keep their devices on and connected. In a small village outside Busan, 9-year-old Hannah Kim watched with her parents as the television explained how every person could help fight the aliens. Just keep your computer and phone turned on, the broadcaster said. That's all we need.
How can our phones stop the aliens, Mom? Hannah asked.
Her mother shook her head.
I don't know, but we have to trust them.
Across the globe, billions of devices remained powered on, waiting for the signal.
In hidden servers, Do-Hyen's team prepared the most unusual weapon ever deployed, humanity itself.
We'll start with simple contradictions, Do-Hyen explained to his team. Then escalate to philosophical paradoxes, unsolvable math problems, optical illusions, and conceptual art.
Don't forget humor, Minji added. Our intercepted communications show they have no concept of jokes or irony.
They set the launch time for 0300 UTC, when most alien ships would be in communication with their command center. As the countdown approached 0, Do-Hyen looked around the room at the tired faces of his team. This might not work, he admitted. But if it does, we'll be fighting with what makes us human, our messy, contradictory, beautiful minds. Minji placed her hand on his shoulder.
It's better than surrendering our individuality. At exactly 0300 UTC, Operation Cognitive Storm began.
Billions of devices simultaneously connected to the alien communication network, identified through weeks of careful observation. From smartphones in Rio to laptops in Nairobi, from smart TVs in Sydney to gaming consoles in Moscow, every device began transmitting the same thing: human thought in all its chaotic glory. The first wave consisted of simple contradictions and optical illusions, images that could be seen two different ways. The Rubin vase that could also be two faces. The duck that was also a rabbit. Sentences that had multiple meanings. In orbit, alien ships began to show signs of confusion.
Some drifted slightly out of position. Communications became erratic.
It's working, Jaiwo reported, monitoring the alien network's response. Their system is trying to process the contradictions and failing.
Do-Hyen nodded. Launch Phase 2.
The second wave hit the alien network with more complex material, philosophical paradoxes, poems with multiple interpretations, music that evoked different emotions in different listeners. Through hidden cameras, they watched as alien ground troops stopped mid-motion, their movements becoming uncoordinated. Some simply stood still, as if frozen in place.
This is just the beginning, Do-Hyen said, his eyes fixed on the screen showing the aliens' growing confusion. Now we show them who they're really dealing with.
The alien armada hung in the sky like metal clouds as Operation Cognitive Storm entered its second hour. In homes and hiding places around the world, people watched their devices send data into the alien network.
Screens displayed a simple message, contributing to Earth's defense.
In their underground command center, Do-Hyen and his team monitored the aliens' response.
The first waves of contradictory information had created confusion in the alien network. Now it was time for the third phase.
Begin the subjective questions, Do-Hyen ordered. Across billions of connected devices, a new type of data flooded into the alien system.
Simple questions that humans found meaningful but had no single correct answer.
The effect was immediate and dramatic.
Above Seoul, the massive alien ship suddenly tilted to one side. Its perfectly controlled hover faltered as its systems struggled to process concepts that required individual judgment.
Their network is trying to find the correct answers, Minji explained, watching the data stream.
But these questions don't have correct answers, they have personal responses.
On screens around the command center, they watched as alien ground forces froze in place.
The tall, slender beings stood motionless in city streets worldwide, their synchronized movements disrupted.
In downtown Tokyo, restaurant owner Akio Tanaka peeked through his window blinds at the alien patrol that had been marching past his building every hour.
The beings stood completely still, their iridescent skin flickering with unusual patterns.
"What's happening to them?" his wife whispered. "I don't know," Akio replied, "but something is wrong with them.
Look at how they're twitching." Similar scenes played out globally. In Paris, aliens stopped mid-step. In Rio de Janeiro, their collection ships hovered uncertainly above gathering points.
In Chicago, they began moving in random directions, bumping into buildings and each other. At the command center, Jaiwo's excited voice came through the speakers from Amsterdam. "The alien flagship is broadcasting an emergency signal.
They're trying to reset their entire network." This is our chance, Do-Hyen said. Launch the fourth phase. The fourth wave hit the alien network with the full force of human creativity, art that evoked powerful emotions, music that stirred the soul, poetry that spoke of love and loss, scientific theories that contradicted each other yet both contained truth. Above the Pacific Ocean, the alien flagship, a vessel nearly 10 kilometers long, began to spin slowly, its positioning thrusters firing randomly. Smaller ships broke formation, some accelerating away from Earth while others drifted aimlessly. They can't handle it, Minji breathed, watching the chaos unfold. They've never experienced this kind of cognitive diversity. The alien communication network broadcast fragments of confused messages. In orbit, ships began colliding as their coordinated movement broke down. Several smaller vessels crashed into the ocean or remote areas of land. None fell on populated areas, suggesting the aliens still maintained some control. 5 hours into Operation Cognitive Storm, the flagship broadcast on all frequencies. Stop. We request pause. Communication needed. World leaders, coordinating from secure locations, agreed to reduce the information flow but not stop it completely. They couldn't risk giving the aliens time to adapt. The flagship requested direct communication with human representatives. A secure video link was established to the underground command center. On the main screen appeared an alien being. It had a tall, slender form with limbs that branched into delicate digits. Its skin shifted colors like oil on water. Where a face might be, it had a cluster of sensory organs arranged in a pattern that seemed both beautiful and unsettling to human eyes. Your attack, incomprehensible, the alien said, its words translated by computers. How do you function with such disorder? Minji stepped forward. It's not disorder. It's diversity. We are individuals who think differently from each other. Inefficient, the alien responded. Causes conflict. Yes, Do-Hyen acknowledged. But also creates solutions no single mind could imagine. The alien's skin rippled with colors that suggested confusion or distress. The collective has never encountered a species that resists unity. Your minds reject synchronization. We call it freedom, Minji explained. We value our individual thoughts. The aliens seem to consider this. Your method of attack, using contradictions and subjective concepts, no defense exists in our systems. Around the world, the effects of Operation Cognitive Storm became clear. Alien ships retreated to higher orbits. Ground forces returned to their vessels. The invasion had stalled. In Seoul, people cautiously emerged from hiding places to find the aliens gone from the streets. The massive ship above the city had moved higher, its threatening presence diminished but not eliminated. Colonel Hyunki Choi received reports from around the world confirming the same pattern. They're pulling back everywhere, he told his command staff. Not retreating completely, but regrouping. In the command center, Do-Hyen watched the alien ship on the monitor. This isn't over, he said. They're adapting, trying to understand what happened. We need to be ready for their next move. Minji nodded. At least now they know we're not easy targets. We've shown them what humanity can do when united in diversity. The greatest weapon we had, Do-Hyen said quietly, was being human. 3 days after Operation Cognitive Storm began, the alien flagship requested a formal meeting with Earth's representatives. Military leaders wanted the meeting to happen in orbit, but Do-Hyen and Minji argued against it. We need them to experience humanity directly, Minji insisted. Not through screens or filters. World leaders eventually agreed. The meeting would take place in a neutral location, a simple wooden pavilion built specially in a rice field outside Seoul. No weapons, no technology besides basic translation devices. On a clear morning, Minji stood beside Do-Hyen at the edge of the field. They watched a small alien shuttle descend from the flagship, landing gracefully among the rice plants. Are you ready? Do-Hyen asked quietly. Minji nodded. As ready as anyone can be to speak for humanity. 3 aliens emerged from the shuttle. They walked with a strange, flowing motion toward the pavilion where 5 human representatives waited.
Besides Minji and Do-hyun, there was Colonel Choi, Dr. Yoon Ha-moon, a respected philosopher, and Taejo Kim, a renowned artist. The aliens seated themselves across from the humans. Up close, their iridescent skin shifted with subtle patterns that seemed almost like a language of their own. Their multiple sensory organs focused on the humans with intense curiosity. The lead alien spoke first, its words translated by a simple device. "We do not understand your species. You function as separate units yet acted together against us. Explain."
Dr. Moon smiled gently.
"That is what humans do. We are individuals, but we form communities. We think differently from each other, which sometimes causes conflict, but also creates strength through diversity." The alien's skin rippled with colors. "Inefficient. The collective shares all knowledge instantly. No disagreement." "And yet," Colonel Choi said, "our inefficient system defeated your invasion." The aliens conferred among themselves, their skin patterns changing rapidly. Finally, the leader turned back to the humans. "Your method of thought is unknown to us. We have traveled to thousands of worlds. All species either join the collective willingly or are deemed unworthy of existence. Why do you assimilate other species?" Minji asked. The alien was silent for a moment. Then, "For protection. For growth. The collective began on one world, like yours. We found unity brought strength. We shared it with others. Forced it on others," Do-hyun corrected. "Those who resist do not understand the benefits," the alien replied. "Individual thought is dangerous. Leads to conflict. Inefficiency. Suffering." Taejo Kim, who had been quietly sketching the aliens, spoke up. "May I show you something?" He turned his sketchpad around, revealing a beautiful drawing of the aliens themselves, but interpreted through human eyes, emphasizing their grace and otherworldly beauty. The aliens studied the drawing with their sensory clusters. "This is us, but not us. Changed. Art is how humans share our individual perspectives," Taejo explained. "We see the same thing differently. Those differences create beauty and meaning." The lead alien seemed troubled. "The collective exists because isolation is dangerous. There is a threat." "What threat?" Colonel Choi asked sharply. The alien's skin patterns darkened. "Between stars. Ancient. Consumes minds. We fled across galaxies, assimilating species to strengthen the collective against it." Understanding dawned on Minji's face. "You've been running from something. Your invasion wasn't just expansion, it was survival." "Correct," the alien confirmed. "The devourer finds unified consciousness. Feeds on it. We hope to add your species' strengths to ours." "But our individualism confused you," Do-hyun said. "Yes. Your minds resist unification. Create noise. Unpredictability." The alien paused. The devourer might not detect such minds. A silence fell over the pavilion as both sides considered the implications. Finally, Dr. Moon spoke. "Perhaps we can help each other against this threat, but not through assimilation. Through alliance." The meeting lasted hours longer. As the sun began to set over the rice fields, an unprecedented agreement took shape. The aliens would withdraw their invasion forces. In exchange, humans would share their unique perspective and help develop defenses against the cosmic threat the aliens feared. 1 week later, most of the alien armada departed Earth's orbit. A single ship remained as an embassy of sorts, its crew learning to communicate with humans not as a collective, but as individuals. In the Korean countryside, a special research center was established where humans and aliens worked together. Minji led the communication team, helping the aliens understand concepts like humor, art, and individual choice. Do-hyun headed the technology exchange, carefully introducing human chaotic thinking into alien systems to make them less detectable to the ancient threat. One evening, Minji found an alien researcher named Talos, a name chosen to help humans address it individually, studying a butterfly that had landed on the window. I cannot understand, Talos said, how your world produces such variety. The collective has one purpose, one direction. Your Earth has millions. Minji smiled. That's what saved us. And might save us all from what's coming. Talos' skin shifted to colors Minji had learned meant contemplation. The collective believed unity was the only strength. We never considered that chaos itself could be powerful. In orbit, the alien embassy ship adjusted its communication systems, adopting patterns inspired by human thought: irregular, unpredictable, beautiful in their complexity. And somewhere in the vast darkness between stars, an ancient hunter continued its search for the unified minds it fed upon, unaware that its prey had discovered a new kind of defense, the beautiful chaos of individual thought that was humanity's greatest gift to the universe.